Hey, it's episode number 7 of the So Epic Rant podcast. This is Darien Lux, your host, and I'm back already. It's only been a couple of days since the last one, but I just figured I'd do a review of UFC 209 since we already did the preview. So I just thought I'd cover everything that happened over the weekend concerning UFC 209 and my first experience with going to the UFC live. So, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for listening to the last episode, and thanks for supporting the podcast and all that great stuff. I greatly appreciate it. I'll keep pumping out good stuff as much as I can. I just hope you guys really enjoy what I'm doing here, because it's something fun to do, and I appreciate that some people take time out of their lives to listen to anything that I do or pay attention to anything that I do. So, I appreciate it greatly. So, as I said, that was my first time going to the UFC live, and it really was a fun experience. So our seats were up in the 200s, and when we bought our tickets, the cheapest seats you could get were $95 before fees. So they ended up being up $210, $215 with fees. But that was in the, how do I explain it? So if it's a hockey arena, where we were sitting would be behind the goal, only up the whole way. And I can't remember we were in row like K or something. So we weren't in the front row. We weren't in the far back. We were in the first third of the seats in the highest section. So if it was a hockey arena, we'd be behind the goal. Now, on the sides, in the same section, was $155. That much of a jump just for being on the sides. And I realized the only advantage you have on being the sides is the screen. The Jumbotron is bigger on the sides. So maybe that had something to do with it. Also, there's more seats on the sides, so they'd make more money that way. So that's a big jump for the same section. So that's why we picked the seats where we were. So, and then with everything that went down with Khabib Ferguson being pulled off, we checked to see if if it sold out, and it didn't. It did not sell out prior to the event starting. So we found seats that didn't sell out down in the I guess club level. Like lower than the boxes, and like the side, it would have been on the like the sideline area. Like if it's a football field, it'd be on the sideline, looking at the bigger side of the Jumbotron. So we found these seats, which eventually we found out happened to be $600 seats that didn't sell. And we snuck down to these seats because no one asked to see your tickets in the arena. They just asked you if you knew where we were going. So yeah, we knew where we were going. So we sneaked down to the section, and I think it was like section 4. I can't remember. So we get down to our seats, and we're nervous. We're so nervous. We're just waiting for someone to spot us, and look, these guys are unworthy. They kick us out of the seat. So we get down there, I think, right when Henrique versus Tybura started. And we're like being quiet and as polite as possible, and trying not to get too excited because we don't want to draw any attention to ourselves. So we're watching, and I believe Henrique grabs the cage. So I'm like, "Hey, he's grabbing the cage." And this guy in front of me turns around, looks at me, and goes, "You got to yell it louder." And I can't remember what we just said. I can't remember what we said to him, but and he looked a little familiar to me. So maybe 2 or 3 minutes passed by, and I'm looking at him, and he's kind of a bigger guy, and he has red hair, and I'm like, I know this guy from something. No shit, Smiling Sam Alvey is sitting right in front of us. And I type his name in to Google, so a picture shows up, and I show it to Greg, and I'm like, and then I just point to the back of his head. He's sitting right in front of us. He's sitting like one seat over. Like, we were in the same row, he'd be sitting right beside Greg. Greg was to my right. So He's right there in front of us. I'm like, oh my God, Luke, we definitely do not deserve to be in these seats if we're sitting by Smiling Sam Alvey, who's a UFC fighter. To people that don't know, he's in the 185-pound division, and he's a really cool guy. So then I look over to my right some more, and then what's her name? Angela Hill, who just had her first fight in the UFC. She's sitting there too, down a little further. So like, we really don't deserve to be in these seats, $600 seats. But we snuck down and didn't have any problems, and we ended up finishing the night there. We only needed to move once because right after we get there, this group of 4 shows up and they sit in the row in front of us, and they actually, I guess that was before I realized it was Smiling Sam Alvey. He was sitting in the row. He was sitting in the seat right in front of me, him and his group, and then so this group of 4 shows up. So then Sam and his group move down like 2 seats to give them room, and then like after a minute they get up, and then they're like, oh wait, we're in the wrong row. So they go up a row to the row me and Greg are in, and me and Greg were like, oh yeah, we're in 5 and 6 anyway. So we moved down to seats 5 and 6. So they're sitting 1 through 4, and then like we're like freaking out. Are we in these people's seats? Did it actually sell out? There's still 2 seats beside him, and then an old man sits down. Like he's moving around from one seat to the next. So we're starting to realize like, these are the seats that people that have a lot of money obviously buy these seats, and it's not necessarily the biggest fans in these seats. It's just people that have a lot of money. Like we're looking around, it's nothing but old people, and then there happen to be UFC fighters. Like there's very few amount of fans, like hardcore fans around us, and like it's a bunch of people just moving around from seat to seat. I mean, granted, most of these people probably bought a seat in that section, but so. We ended up spending the whole night there, and I gotta say, Sam Alvey, what an awesome dude. I said to Greg, the only thing cooler than getting a picture with a famous person is like sitting there and actually talking to a famous person and spend like we didn't just talk to him. Like there were times where he talked to us, like he was that cool about fights and stuff like that, and I talked to him about Luke Rockhold and about the main event, and it was just an awesome time. And I can't believe we got this moved down from where we were sitting, and no one found us out, and we're sitting by Sam Alvey. There was one point where we had to go to the bathroom so bad, we didn't want to get up out of our seats, and then this freaking drunk guy who comes out, he's like yelling and telling people, "Oh, I don't even belong here. I just snuck down," and we're like, "Dude, shut the hell up." Because, we did the same thing. We don't want to get caught. And he didn't get in trouble or anything. And it was hilarious because he's like, what fight was it? Evans Kelly. They were in the middle of the octagon the whole time. And from where we were seated, the cameraman was exactly, like if you're looking through the cage, the cameraman's standing exactly at the middle of the octagon. So if you're in the seats and the fighters are at the middle of the octagon, you couldn't see them. And the fat drunk guy's like, what the hell, man? The cameraman's in the way. I can't see. And Sam just looks over to him and goes, yeah, all you got to do is look up, because that's where the giant Jumbotron's at, because it's on the side where the Jumbotron's wider. So he's like, yeah, just look up and watch the screen. That solves that problem. And he's like, you pay for these seats. And before he even finished that line, Sam goes, did you pay for these seats? And the guy's like, yeah, you got me there. That was pretty funny. But there was one point where we had to go to the bathroom so bad. We finally like, all right, if this drunk asshole's here and he didn't get kicked out yet, I think we can make it. So we go up to the top of the row, and like this isn't the way we came in, I guess. And we were literally in this VIP bar, and we're looking around, and there's nothing but like rich people, and then like Sam was there getting a drink, and we there was a couple other fighters in there, and like we're like, oh shit, we really don't deserve to be here. So we go to the bathroom, and then we get the hell out of there and go back to the seats. So it was pretty funny, but it was an awesome time. The card really wasn't bad until the main event. That was the only letdown of the whole night, other than Khabib Ferguson not happening. It was a really enjoyable card. In the prelims, the Alcantara Sanders fight was crazy because Sanders is dominating the first round to the point where it could have got stopped, and then Sanders hits Alcantara with an illegal knee because I don't think Nevada has accepted the new rules set yet, if I'm not mistaken. I believe I heard in the post-fight press conference, I think Ariel Helwani asked I guess I don't know. I guess he was one of the commissioners for the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Or if he was something to do with the judges. He was in charge of the judges. That guy, whoever that guy is, that went to the post-fight press conference. So if you watch that, you'll know who I'm talking about. I believe someone in there said something about Nevada Nevada doesn't have they don't follow the new rule set yet regarding the knees to a downed opponent. So Sanders hits Alcantara with an illegal knee with 15 seconds or so left in the fight. So Alcantara gets that time to recover. They separate the two, and then Alcantara had about 30 seconds to recover from that. Finishes the round. And then the second round, Luke Sanders starts striking again. He's doing damage. Eventually knocks Alcantara down, but Alcantara was managed to get a knee bar, I believe it was, or some kind of leg lock or knee bar. And it was so quick. It happened so fast that Luke didn't even try to get out. He just tapped immediately. It was crazy. Definitely a come from behind victory. The stats here: total strikes 134 for Luke to Alcantara's 27, and 94 significant strikes to Alcantara's 23. They both had a takedown, but Alcantara's one submission attempt was enough to finish off Luke at 148 in the second round, or with 148 left in the second round. So that was a crazy fight. The way it turned around, it was so dominant. Luke Sanders would have had that fight stopped if he didn't hit them with that illegal knee. And if that knee was legal, that definitely would have finished the fight right there. So, I thought Alcantara was going to win that fight to begin with. I didn't think his striking was going to look that bad against Luke's. I don't know if Luke just is that much better than him at striking, or he just looked good, and he just had a good night, or Alcantara had a bad night. But I really thought Yuri Alcantara was going to win that fight to begin with. So I wasn't surprised when that happened. And then right after that was Mirsad Bektik versus Darren Elkins, which was almost the same exact thing. Bektik had an extremely dominant first round. Let me pull up the stats here. This is just the first round. 102 total strikes to Elkins' 6. That's the entire first round. 39 significant strikes to Elkins' 3, 1 takedown. The last 2 minutes, I believe, of the fight was all ground and pound from Bektik. It was definitely a point where it got close to finishing the fight, but Elkins did a great job of taking care of himself and covering himself and surviving the round. So then in the second round, started off with Bektik Bektik trying to get back to the striking. He takes him down, and then it became more of a ground fight. And then towards the end of the fight, I think, or towards the end of the second round, I think Bektik was getting a little tired at that point, having thrown so many strikes in the first round. I think he wore himself out a little bit, so we started to see Elkins, turn it around, heading into the third round, and then that fight was. The third round was, if I remember correctly, was mostly, I can't remember too much. All I remember is the ending. I can't remember. I don't think it was on the ground. I think it was kind of they were just filling each other out, trying not to. Neither of them were, both of them were kind of hesitant. Sorry, I'm just trying to have a good recollection of what happened in the third round, other than very late in the third round, Elkins dropped Bektik and stopped the fight via TKO. And Joe Rogan was right. That was one of the most primal. The way Elkins react was it was so savage after that win. And that was a crazy crazy thing after seeing the last fight, right before that, the Alcantara-Sanders fight was a come-from-behind victory. To see Elkins do the same thing, that was crazy. And those were two of the best prelim fights I've seen in a while. There were two really great prelim fights, and all four guys in those fights definitely helped themselves out in the future. They definitely did a great job of putting their name out there because all four guys showed promise in their fights, in the two fights. So that was definitely interesting to see and amazing to see live. The Tybura Henrique fight was pretty much a snooze fest. Tybura finished it off in the third round. I think the second round they both got separated. They got separated from leaning on each other in the cage two or three times. So, and then the Overeem Hunt heavyweight fight, which was one of the craziest fights of the night. Mark won the first round, I think, even though Overeem landed more strikes, but the strikes Hunt landed in the first round were so powerful. One of his first kicks hit Alistair Overeem on the knee, and it put this huge chunk. It put this huge gash in Hunt's shin, and then the blood started pouring down his shin. It looked almost like someone took a knife down his shin. It was bleeding so badly, and then he's throwing kicks with it after that happened. We eventually find out that he has a broken tibia, so he's throwing powerful kicks to the body with a broken tibia. That just shows how badass Mark Hunt is. So I think Hunt actually wobbled Overeem at one point in the first round. So I gave the first round to Hunt. In the second round, Hunt again was able to hit Overeem with some powerful strikes and kicks to the head and body, but Overeem was keeping his distance. It got put up against the cage a couple times. They both did a great job with elbows, some powerful elbows. But then in the third round, Overeem gets it up against the cage, hits Mark with a huge elbow, and then just destroys Mark Hunt with his freaking Overeem knees. Like people have said, definitely the best knees in the division, or the net best knees in the UFC. I mean, to watch the way Mark Hunt gets knocked out is insane. Like what happens to him is what he does to people, and normally, regardless of getting KO'd or TKO'd, whenever they do the official decision, both guys are standing there for the hand get raised and Bruce Buffer to give the official decision. Mark Hunt fell flat on his face. Like, he was out cold. They took him out of the cage as soon as they got up, and I'm assuming he went to a hospital. They walked him out immediately. They did not make him stand around for the official decision, so that shows how bad he was hurt from Overeem's two huge tie knees to Mark's chin. So, Mark suffered a broken tibia, and that was a little heartbreaking for Mark. It's definitely good for Overeem because I'd like to see him get another title shot. I'm a huge fan of both fighters. I just really thought Mark was going to get this one, and like I said, Mark needed that one more than Overeem did. So, congratulations to Overeem, and I really hope to see Mark Hunt in the UFC again. Crazy thing, those two guys got paid the most money out of everyone on the card. I mean, out of the main event, out of the co-main event, out of what Khabib and Ferguson would have got, both of those guys got $750,000. That's great for both of them. And that just goes to show, that, being champ doesn't always get you the most money, because, the 8th ranked and the 3rd ranked heavyweight fighters both got $750,000 for their fight. Then we had Cooper Calvillo. It was a pretty quick. That one was over quickly. Calvillo submitted Cooper. Cooper really didn't stand a chance in that fight. She threw a couple strikes, didn't do any damage, gets taken down, and then got submitted rather quickly.
After that was Rashad Evans' debut at 185, and we both thought he looked really good. And he even fought, like, he didn't fight bad at all. He just didn't do enough to beat Daniel Kelly. Two judges picked Kelly to the one picking Rashad Evans, so a split decision win for Daniel Kelly. Congratulations to Daniel Kelly. He's now 6-1 in the UFC. He's 39 years old, so who knows what he has in store for his future. He doesn't look great, so I don't know how he'll hold up against top 10, top 5 fighters in the division. I really hope this isn't it for Rashad Evans. I think he looked good. The problem with him, and I think this has been a problem for a while in his career, his defense. This is my opinion. He needs to work on his defense. He takes too much damage. It's just like, it looks like he gets hit with things that most people or people in his position, other people in his position would be able to avoid. That's just the way I look at it. So I could be wrong, but from my perspective, Evans takes too much damage, too much unnecessary damage the guys that are better in the division and better in 205 would avoid getting hit with. So I really think Evans just needs to work on his defense, and who knows what he can do in the 185-pound division. Then on to Venata and Tamor. I had Venata winning this one. I was wrong again with that. Tamor won a majority decision, or unanimous decision, rather, which I'm a little surprised. I thought Venata won at least the first round, and you could make an argument for the second as well, but he even said to him about himself that cardio seems to be an issue, and that's what he's going to have to work on. I do need to correct a mistake I made of the last episode. Venata was not coming off a loss. He actually had that spectacular head kick over John Makdessi. It's now pouring like crazy outside. I don't know if you can hear that in the mic. I can't remember what card that was. Let me look it up. Venata versus Makdessi. Yeah, it's really coming down out there. Holy shit. John Makdessi versus Venata. That was UFC 206. That's right. That was the same card with Doo-Ho Choi versus Cub Swanson. Max Holloway versus Anthony Pettis. That was a great card. So Venata was not coming off a loss. He was coming off that spectacular head kick. It was definitely another thing that could have been an issue. He was looking for that knockout again and was not able to get it. Tamor looked great. Both guys looked really good. That was a fight that could have went either way. It could have played out either way. Definitely watching the fight, Tamor deserved the victory. I think a split decision. I really expected it to be a split decision, though. It was that close. But after the fight happened, I would have picked Tamor to win as well. So, and then for the main event, a lot of people were talking about this. It's received a lot of criticism. First off, I'm going to say I think this fight was closer to a draw than the first one. You guys know what I thought about the first one after the last podcast. I don't know. It's interesting. The matchup of these two fighters is really interesting. I guess like they just completely cancel out each other. I mean, the one reoccurring theme throughout both fights is Woodley can knock down Thompson. Thompson has yet to knock down Woodley. Thompson has yet to put Woodley in any type of immediate danger or threat. Really, like that's not even you can't even argue against that. You can say what you want about Steven winning rounds, about Steven being a point fighter, about Steven landing more strikes, which did he? Again, he didn't. He did not land more strikes. 70 total strikes to Stephen Thompson's 66. So Thompson has yet to put Woodley in any type of danger. Woodley had knocked down Thompson 4 or 5 times in the previous fight. He knocked him down at least once in the 5th round, and was very close to finishing that fight in the last 30 seconds. Also had a takedown in round 3 and did some ground and pound. So one of the craziest thing, or not the craziest thing, a couple crazy things about this fight is one of the judges scored the first round a 10-10, which I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I knew it was a 10-point must system, meaning that every round someone has to get 10 points, no matter what. Someone has to get 10 points. One of the judges, or if I'm not, at least one of the judges gave round 1 a 10-10. So looking at the stats, throughout the whole round, neither guy had any control. Woodley landed 5 significant strikes. Thompson landed 6 significant strikes. Thompson threw more, was less accurate. Woodley threw less, so therefore he was more accurate. So they gave it a 10-10 round, which I'm totally fine with. They essentially had the same amount of strikes. One guy threw less and was more accurate than the other. Round 2 was identical, exactly identical, 8-8 for both guys. So that essentially should be another 10-10 round, right? So going into round 3, we're at a draw. Okay? You with me now? So going into round 3, we're at a draw. I don't see how you can say Thompson or Woodley won either of those rounds. They're identical. So going into round 3, we're at a draw. Now, round 3, Tyron Woodley has a minute and 50 seconds of control to Stephen Thompson's 15 seconds. Tyron Woodley has 30 strikes to Thompson's 27. Tyron Woodley has 15 significant strikes to Thompson's 14. He also had a takedown. Most of Woodley's strikes, or at least some of Woodley's strikes, were on top of Thompson after the takedown. So that's a decisive round for Woodley. So they're now tied 2 rounds. They both have Jesus. 1 and 2 are a draw, and 3 goes to Woodley. So Woodley's up 1 going into the 4th round. Now 4th round, no control at all. Thompson lands more strikes, 12-9. So Thompson lands 12, Woodley lands 9. So you can call that a decisive win for Thompson. So they're now back at a draw. 2 ties, 1 for Woodley, 1 for Thompson. So going into the 5th round, you're back at a draw. Okay? 5th round, 18 total strikes for Woodley, 13 total strikes for Thompson. 17 of those were significant, and all 13 were significant for Thompson. In the last 30 seconds was pretty much when Woodley landed his strikes. One of those was enough to drop Thompson, who was pretty much unconscious on his way down to hitting the canvas. The canvas is probably what woke him up. I mean, he was out. It just happened so late in the round that Woodley didn't get a chance to finish him. And Thompson's a tough boy, so that one's a clear win for Woodley. One of the judges gave it a 10-8. So that makes Woodley the winner, right? So I'll go over it again. Round 1, 10-10. So if round 1's a 10-10, round 2 is a 10-10 because both that round 2 is identical, completely identical, with strikes, no takedowns, no submission attempts, no control, no knockdowns, completely identical. Round 3 goes to Woodley. Round 4 goes to Thompson. Round 5 goes to Woodley, meaning Tyron Woodley keeps the belt, the 170 pound belt and is still the champ, which that's eventually what happened. Yes, it was close. Yes, it's controversial, but tell me, I need someone to tell me how I'm wrong about this. I don't see how you could say Thompson got robbed. I don't see how anyone could say Thompson won. It's known that in the UFC, to beat the champ, you got to finish the champ. Rarely do you beat the champ by a decision. Outside the most recent one being Cody Garbrandt over Dominic Cruz, but I thought that was a pretty decisive win, 3-2, or maybe 4-1, at least 3 rounds. So I just don't see any argument for Thompson winning this fight. Really, it's beyond me how this is as controversial as it is. Outside of the hype it had, especially given that the first fight was such a good fight. Both guys are counterpunchers, and both guys are looking for that opening, and it just wasn't there this time. It's just one of those fights where neither guy saw a there's risk and reward. Neither guy saw a reward that was worth the risk. So no one really went for it. Thompson never had Woodley in danger. That's 2 fights in a row. Thompson never had Woodley in danger. He octagon control, but like if you're not hitting anyone, if you're not hitting someone, you're not doing any damage, you're not pressuring, you're not pushing the pace, then who gives a shit about octagon control? I just don't see the argument for Thompson winning. He said in his post-fight interview that he felt he did enough to win the fight, yet he didn't knock down Tyron. He didn't take down Tyron. He didn't put a scratch on Tyron. His face was cut up and bruised. He was taken down. He was knocked down. You could say if you give the first round to Thompson, that's just like, I mean, I know that the UFC has to have a scoring system somehow. So let's say you do give 3 rounds to Thompson, 2 rounds to Woodley, and you don't give one of those rounds a 10-8, like what happened in the first fight, then that wins Thompson the fight. I mean, I guess, but watching it, just for my personality, if I'm watching a fight and a guy gets taken down and beat on a little bit, and then he gets knocked down, almost put out in different rounds, that is way more significant than landing 1 more strike or 3 more strikes over the course of 3 rounds. Then, I just think that the 2 rounds where you got taken down and beat up and knocked down, that's way more devastating than your extra 2 strikes, extra 3 strikes landed in 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Like, if the point of fighting, I get that it's a sport, but the point of fighting is to do more damage to the other guy than you receive. Who did that? Woodley. I mean, I understand, like, I might be a little hypocritical with that because Dan Henderson definitely did more damage on Michael Bisping than Michael Bisping did on Dan Henderson, but I'll admit that fight could be a draw. That fight could be Dan Henderson win. I'm just happy that Mike Bisping won that fight because I'm a Mike Bisping fan. But that easily could have went the other way, if not a draw, because Bisping really definitely landed so much more strikes than Henderson did. So that fight's a little different, but I just do not see the argument for Thompson winning this fight. Maybe someone can give me a better one. I don't know. That's just the way I look at it. I'm trying not to be biased because I'm a Woodley fan. But I don't dislike Stephen Thompson. I do like him. I'm just ready to move on. And I'm excited to see who both of these guys get for their next fight. Who knows who they're going to get Probably Thompson versus Maya, right? I mean, Woodley's going to stick around and see what happens with GSP Bisping, because I know he wants to fight both of those guys. So it's an interesting landscape right now with Michael Bisping, George St. Pierre, Tyron Woodley, and Conor McGregor, spanning 3 to 4 weight classes. It's interesting. All of those 4 names are really all in a mix together, one way or another. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens with Bisping, GSP. I'm excited for that. Hopefully it'll be in, I think, July 8th is what I just heard Bisping say. So, yeah, that's my review of UFC 209. I really thought it was a great card up into the main event, which the main event wasn't terrible. I think it was definitely better to watch live than it was on TV. I don't know, because I haven't watched video of it yet. I've only seen highlights, so I'm glad I was there to witness it live. It was definitely an experience, and I can't wait to go to another one. Congratulations to Tyron Woodley on retaining your belt. Congratulations to everyone that won. I hope to see Mark Hunt in the UFC again, and same goes for Rashad Evans. Thanks to everyone that's listening to this. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you hate it. Have a good one. Not So Epic Rant podcast, episode number 7. Stay classy.